Hello everyone, Guy here again. Welcome back to Lockdown Licks Part 2. Number 1 went really way better than I could have expected. Thank you so much for all your wonderful comments and everything. That's been really nice. Really nice to feel you're kind of doing something contributive and helpful. Because let's face it, you know, I'm feeling a bit useless. I went to the supermarket earlier, just for essentials, obviously. And you know, you just feel those people that, you know, they get taken for granted, and most people stacking the shelves, man, they're like SAS troops now. They're like the elite. There's crack people. And I just can't stop saying thank you to everyone, and I think we all should. I mean, I love this whole realignment of, you know, seeing who really matters in society. Also, I must say that, you know, even though feeling useless as we are, I'm also feeling very grateful to be part of the family of the arts, because let's face it, we're all locked up at home, and if it wasn't for music and books and films and TV, comedy, you'd all be killing each other, wouldn't you? So anyway, we're going to go for the... Oh yeah, also some very interesting things in the comments, mainly very supportive, thank you. People found it useful. A couple of people didn't seem to quite get it. I mean, there were all sorts of requests. Few people asked me to play other bass players' lines. Thanks a lot. But there were some interesting requests, and I'm going to try and get through them because, like as I said, we ain't got nothing but time. But the reason I was waiting to do this one, today's piece, Like a Prayer, the big one, one of the big ones, is because I was waiting for this bass to come back to me. This is my trusty Specter NS2, and it's a bass I love, although... it's kind of my boomerang, but I've actually tried to get rid of it twice. I don't know why. And it has always been my favourite for all my octave pedal work because A, it's active, so it's very bright, and it's got this beautiful 2-octave neck. So it's great for, you know, dusty end stuff. And I first came across the Specter in 1984 or 5, I'm not sure, when I went to the Bahamas, to Compass Point, to record Riptide with Robert Palmer. Yeah, right. I was 23. And Bernard Edwards, who was producing it, had one. And so I clearly thought, well, if he's got one, it's obviously amazing. I'd never had to think I even played it. And it wasn't, but then I forgot about it because I had my Steinberger and my Status, which were the two basses I played. And it wasn't until I went on tour with Pink Floyd that people started giving me stuff. It was amazing. You know, it's great, isn't it? First time you're getting serious coin, fam, and people are suddenly giving you stuff. And Specter were by this point owned by Kramer, so it was a much more big mainstream company, and so they gave me one. Actually, they gave me 3, but this is the one that I fell in love with. The Specter was actually the first bass to be designed by Ned Steinberger, who designed the Steinberger, and lovely man. I met him at the NAMM show a few years ago, and it's based. He was a furniture designer, so this is actually based on an old English riding saddle, which is why it has this lovely sort of curve to it. So the other thing is, the Specter, I love the octave pedal. Now, let me tell you about the octave pedal, which became a big thing I fell in love with in the mid-80s. Now, it's a very old effect. The original Octavia was designed by Roger Mayer for Jimi Hendrix, so it's been there since, you know, the beginning. The first time I ever heard it on bass was, it's a blatant nick, right? I heard On a Taya Playhouse Down by Paul Young. Bloody Pino. He is amazing. We all walk in his shadow. Well, he's very tall. And yeah, it was one of those things where I literally remember where I was first time I heard it. I was in the reception at Maison Rouge Studios, and I was just like, "What is that? Sounds like a synth, but it clearly isn't a synth. There's clearly someone playing it with expression." And I don't know how I found out that it was actually Pino playing an octave pedal, and but I went and got one. The Boss OC2 is the industry standard. The first one I had was actually a Pearl, which was brilliant, and I don't know, I'd probably get one on eBay for 50 grand. But I'm using a bottle. Actually, at the moment, I'm going through a Boss. I'm using an ME50B multi-effects because all my, I've got my gorgeous big pedal board and everything, but of course that's all locked up because I was getting everything ready to go on tour, wasn't I? But there you go. And so the thing with the Octave, it's one of those things. The first time you plug in with an Octave, I was just like, why would you ever want to do anything else? It completely changes the way you play. It's just so much fun because you're up the dusty end, so you can be just really expressive. And it's much like I remember the first time I plugged a 6-string guitar into a delay unit. You're just like, why would you ever want to do anything else? Certainly how the Edge felt, wasn't it? Anyway, but I thought I'd start, before we do like a prayer, I'd give you a little amuse-bouche, so to speak, because I had a lot of requests not for a song, but literally for one particular fill, which is nice, because it is actually a particular favourite of mine. So I should point out that most of the fills I do, right, aren't planned or worked out. It's not like, like for instance, David sort of works out his solos meticulously. I basically, at some point in the song, I feel like we need a fill, and I just head north and sort of hope that something happens. And it usually does. There's been a couple of tracks I've played on recently, actually, where I started something and realised I didn't have a way out, and ended up doing something quite extraordinarily long, but got away with it both times. I'm not going to say what they are because they're not out yet. But this particular one, I mean, as for instance, on the Ain't No Doubt one, a couple of people pointed out there's a fill on that towards the end, at the 6:56 mark on the video. People saying, oh man, what's that thing you do? And it's like, I don't know. I just did it because it was that point in the song where I usually do something, so I just did something. And apparently it was all right. So anyway, this is the fill I do at the beginning of Sorrow, and it's something that I just did one night, I think very early on. It just sort of fell out at the bass, and I liked it, so I've done it exactly the same way ever since. So I'm going to play it for you, show you how it goes. Right, so that little thing at the beginning, and it's just... And we go up to E. Again. Et voila. Right, now it's time for the main course. Okay, this is Like a Prayer by Madonna. What can I tell you about this? Obviously, apologies, because as it is by Madonna and it's a lockdown video, I know I should actually be performing it in the bath, but I'm afraid it just wasn't possible. So apologies. Thing that is most remarkable about this for me is the fact that I have pretty much no recollection of doing it whatsoever. It's not me, because it's not like I went in to do a song. I've been flown to LA to work on an album, and we were doing the album, we were in and out. And I remember the album very, very well. I remember most of the recording very, very well, because most of it was done band style. I can tell you exactly about how we did Oh Father, for instance, because it was amazing. It was a full band, Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffat on drums, the Jacksons drummer, Jay Winding and Pat Leonard on keyboards, the exquisite Bruce Gaich on guitar. And I remember we played that 3 times, and with Madonna's guide vocal, and that was it, done. I think I did this because I think this is one that was I didn't play on the track of this. I think the track was recorded, and then I did this on the day. There was one day I had which I really, really loved, which is when it was just me with Pat Leonard, the producer, Bill Bottrell, the engineer, the amazing engineer. I mean, it was an amazing crew, and I've got to say, like, big love to Pat Leonard. He actually, pretty much all of my best work has been with him. He understands what I do way better than I do, and he always gets the best out of me. And anyway, but I think this was the day that we went in and we did we did Till Death Us Do Part, which I did on a weird stereo bass I had, where you could pan each string in a different direction. Can't really hear it on the track, but hey, it was the 80s. And we did this, and I can't really remember doing it. To the point where, right, the extraordinary story is that Months later, I came back to LA to do another a band project with Pat, called Toy Matinee, which I know a lot of you have been asking about. And yes, Last Plane Out and Queen of Misery at least will be making an appearance later on. Those of you, and especially in Britain, people don't really know this album. It's the nearest I ever got to being in the Velvet Underground. In that it was a legendary band. I get so much kudos from American musicians for having been in this band, which is what gave birth to the Tuesday Night Music Club and therefore Sheryl Crow. Anyway, I digress. I'm the Ronnie Corbett of bass playing, aren't I? Let's face it. I can't remember what I was saying about doing this track. Oh yes, that's right. Yes, it was when I went back to do the Toy Matinee sessions. I got very kindly was invited down to another studio somewhere in the valley where Madonna was mixing this, and she invited me to come down to the mix. Right, so I went down, and they were doing the last run through before they printed it of Like a Prep, and she come and I went. She said, "Come and sit here." I went and sat next to her. It was all very nice. There was lots of lava lights. It was all very hippie. It was great, and the track played really loud. And I was thinking, fuck, that is amazing. And I thought, that bass is insane. The bass is insane. Who the hell gets to do that on a Madonna record? That's amazing. And I thought, and it kind of sounded like me, but I couldn't remember doing it. And more to the point, I couldn't imagine ever having been allowed to play anything like that on a Madonna record. And the track got to the end, no doubt. And I said, in all honesty, I said, Madonna, that is amazing. I think it's the best thing of yours I've ever heard. I said, and that bass is incredible. Who did it? She went, you dummy! Anyway, I'm going to go, listen, this is one of those things, I'm never going to get it completely right, because I've already given myself blisters trying to remember it. I can remember all the bits, but just, it's the Eric Morecambe. I will play all the right notes, just not necessarily in the right order. But I'm not doing the whole song, because you don't need that. I know what you want to hear. So we're just going to do the fun bit, which starts in the middle eight. I know there are a few mistakes in there, but I've played it so many times now. Times like this, I should probably have learned to read music. I could have made little notes or something. The thing, it's only a few things, but they, repeat. It's just little kit of parts. But it's basically, we're in D minor, and it's. B flat, A, B flat, C. Is just to C and through A to B flat, ending up on D again. And then we're back into the riff. And then various little bits. My favourite one is the and then it's various repeats of and one I like just and that's it. So yeah, I don't know what to say now. I'm knackered from having to go through that so many times. But I hope that's fun for you. And I'll be back with another bit with a song that actually came as a direct result from this, which I played with the same bass, and it's Earth Song. Yay! So everyone, stay safe, look out for each other, be kind and thoughtful, and have fun. All right, cheers.